Can I stick my 2 cents in too? I don't know, you ever considered a fee for a classroom, a fee for the stadium? I mean, you guys don't charge nothing, just the custodial fee? Or you think you should charge something, even if you turn on the lights for 3 hours? That's a big.
Well, that's there.
There is a.
That's there, Adam.
I never read it, so.
Yeah, because we even got a little bit more tougher on the use of the facility after
Oh.
it got abused even by one of the semi-pro teams was up there one year.
Yeah.
And they were running the track
Yeah.
and their spikes and everything, thought nothing of it.
Yeah.
Stadium, I believe, was
So we really got to pay attention to the use of
Yeah,
that facility.
because they snap the line
And the
sometimes.
lights, like you said,
Yeah.
but there is, Matt, and then there's something in there for that.
I read
Okay,
it
thanks.
twice.
Okay, so we'll mark that revision, get it out to you, and then if you have any more comments on it, get back to us.
Thank
And we'll hopefully be able to get that approved Monday. District policy and guest teachers, substitutes and guest teachers. There's a list at the IU of people who are registered as guest teachers. That was in your packet. Those people never come here, but just in case somebody does get added to the list, they will on top of our district substitutes. Custodian, we're appointing a custodian position, Dave Clark, who has been subbing for us for months, and we didn't find a custodian. We went through the interview process, and we appointed him as a substitute. Found out that he worked out very well over the last, it's about 3 months. So we feel he's earned that job, and that was the job that was middle school custodian went to Evergreen, and that was the position that was vacated at the middle school. So that's not a new position. We did advertise for a second custodial position. We'll talk about that.
Okay. That's that one
Executive
here.
season anticipated, and that is, we have a work comp closure. So that's not a new position either. That's currently one that's being filled by a substitute, but I want to have a discussion with the executive session on that one. Okay. Appointment 12-month secretary. We talked about that at the last meeting, and that was due to the whole shifting of Kathy Gershie becoming transportation, and it vacated a position here and added the 2 half-time secretaries at the elementary schools. This is replacing what Kathy Gershie was doing here in the district office. We had somebody within the district office move up to that position, and so this is the 12-month secretarial position out front here in our office, and I'll go through that in executive session with everybody we interviewed there, and we're recommending Carrie Ann Williams, who lives in Sterling, for that position, but we'll have that further discussion on in the personnel session after the meeting. Food service, Julie, again, we'll discuss this after as well, but Julie that's a part-time position that was not a new position, because we had a retiree of the 12-month of the secretary and an existing person who was in the cafeteria, which was Susan Paul, took that job, and this was her part-time position. So it's not a new position, but it is a new name.
And Susan was
filling
put on
that.
last month. there,
Correct,
right?
and Susan moved up to the secretarial position because that person's retiring. Okay, so again, this was a chain reaction of somebody internally earning the job, going from part-time to full-time, and to replace a retiree, and this is a part-time position to be added. Jessica Short, TSA Middle School, and she was the only applicant that we had for that position, and we do want to introduce Jessica to the Parents Club. So whether we invite the parents or Jessica to the board meeting, or we do it another time, especially with the turmoil we had at the end of the year with TSA, we want the parents to have the opportunity and the board the opportunity to meet with and talk with Jessica. The board already has back in May.
We met her, she was here for long-term help.
Long-term
Yeah,
stuff.
she had a lot of
Very,
spunk.
very
Yeah,
energetic,
I was gonna
nice
say
young
that
lady.
too. She did, yeah.
She'll be great advisor.
She also is, she was also involved in cheerleading and coaching cheerleading. She's being appointed there as well. And we're going back which is the next item on the agenda, we're going back to the original way the contract was written. One's basketball, one is wrestling, and she's doing the wrestling portion. Chris Carey's doing the boys, or the varsity basketball cheerleading. Before, last year, we split it half and half. This is where Jessica's doing wrestling and Chris Carey's doing basketball. Mentor teacher, we do have to do a mentor teacher because Lori Kroll, who is the nurse that we hired, who was a long-term sub at Valley View, has not been through the state mentor teacher certificated program, so we do have to have her in as a Denise Johnson mentoring her. Lori, those that already had gone through the permanent mentoring scenario, this year was the first year that we did not go through mentors and require somebody, like for example, Randy Wolf he's been an 18-year teacher at Delaware Valley. He went through the mentor teacher program there. We hired him here. We did not hire a mentor teacher for him.
So we say 1488.
That's correct.
Yeah,
And there were
Because we have a
she
question.
didn't complete it at Valley.
that was supposed to put her all ahead of everybody else, the fact that she had all this
Well, yeah,
stuff.
okay,
Well,
sure,
she had
yeah,
the school
yeah,
nurse program. She was a certificated school nurse, and
Yeah.
she had the,
That was when my brother passed away.
she won the interview. She was like the most qualified in the interview process.
Is this a requirement, Joe, like every
Yeah.
teacher has to go on? It slipped through the cracks,
She was a long-term sub. She was a long-term sub. We have, well, and it's another one, Jessica Short's a long-term sub for us, and we didn't hire a mentor teacher for her either. It's a requirement now for full-time teachers, it's a full-time teacher. Couple of volunteers, Mark Bell, it's not the Mark Bell who is the baseball and basketball Mark Bell, it's a different Mark Bell, it's a parent. And then Michelle De Leon for the band.
Well, it's sort of the real Mark Bell, then if it's the parent of the Mark Bell,
Yeah,
then there's got to be.
it's a different Mark Bell than we're used to. Okay. And then we have open houses and all the informational items.
The dates are reversed. September 16th is a Monday, it's Friday. September 19th is Monday.
Okay.
And B, go backwards.
Okay. Thank you. And then all the other reports are as is. So that's the agenda. We don't really have anything else other than executive session items, and there are a number of them. So unless there are any questions, comments from the,
One. Not a question. Something, I learned the other day that there's actually a U.S. law for the way that you're supposed to behave during the national community. Did not know that. I actually have it right here in case anybody's interested. It falls under the U.S. Code, Title 36, Subtitle 1, Part A, Chapter 3, Section 301. And it basically just goes in that you're supposed to say we handle it. Now, I didn't know that. Would it be in an American government, where one of those courses in, just to put that, it would take 5 minutes? Or you don't even think it's worth? Just that it's my patriotic part. You know, you stand there, you go to the national anthem, you look over there, you see people like this, people like that, you know what I mean? And I just turned 60, and I never knew the actual way to do that until, you know. Yeah. That was my 6th grade teacher.
We do teach our elementary children that.
What's that?
We do teach the
You do
elementary.
teach them?
Yes, that in the proper ways, they either have to.
Well, I wish I would've had you
hands
for a
at their
principal.
sides, or they have to put it on their heart. You know, and they know that like they have to stop if they're in the hallway, they never wear their hat, you know.
and it's now
They're
public,
public,
now
people
it's big in
over.
public news because
Yeah,
of
sure.
Right.
Kaepernick and the
That's the
soccer,
reason that came up,
women's
that's the
soccer
reason I
player.
ended up searching it.
And what do you think about Mr. Kaepernick as a professional athlete, sitting on the sidelines in the national anthem here? But I think he's wrong.
Oh, he's definitely well. He's enjoying the $19 million a year that he's getting.
Sitting there, he doesn't move the whole time, doesn't stand in the national anthem, and he doesn't buy. So he can just keep sitting there.
The best thing they could have done was send them home. And afterwards, they cut in.
Yeah, George, go ahead, George. We do it at the elementary school.
Okay.
and it
That's all it
makes
takes, just going
sense.
somebody teaching somebody.
Yeah, George,
I just have a question where we stand with the Kelly substituting.
we dropped it.
Um,
We put it on hold.
Do our substitutes know that are out there? Because I know some substitutes that were hired by Kelly, but only because they were afraid they weren't going to have a job.
We'll make it clear to them that those, but we dropped that. I don't think it was nearly as successful as what it had been touted that it was going to be.
Well, they weren't providing the coverage that we needed, correct?
Yeah, and we quite honestly went slowly to see how it was gonna work at the neighboring districts around us that did it.
I think it was a couple local substitutes here that subbed for us over the years, and they had a negative feeling about the Kelly.
How long ago did we drop them?
We never put them on.
Oh,
We
okay.
never hired them. So we said, you know, we're gonna table this and go slowly, see how it works, and we found that, you know, the thing that helped us the most was, quite honestly, was guest teachers. When we approved being able to have somebody with a 4-year degree come in as a guest teacher, not with a teaching certificate, it gave us a little bit more firepower in the pool,
Availability.
more availability of people.
I
Some of
did
them
see
were
it in
retired
the-
teachers from other states
That's correct.
and neighboring, so they fit the bill.
I did see an ad in the paper that you were looking for custodians, guest teachers, volunteers, substitutes, teacher substitutes, and I thought,
And that's just promoting it to let people know that we need some subs in all those areas. So if you're looking for a part-time position, that could be full later, come and sign up.
and what's the salary for the sub-teacher now?
Guest teachers are 85 and substitutes are
95, if you have a valid Pennsylvania certificate, 95 as a substitute teacher, 85 with a 4-year degree.
And what was custodial in that? We bumped them all up there, right?
$11 an hour.
For subbing?
Correct. For 10?
They were union.
Yeah, that was negotiated as part of the contract. And the non-union, the clerical, was whatever the starting salary was, 1050. 950 for one, 1050 for the other.
Yeah.
But we did bump them all up, all the,
Yeah, I know you did do that.
Okay, any other comments or questions?
Joe, I just have one comment. I'd like to see if we have our board packet, if that can get scanned and maybe sent in, as opposed to all of these printouts. Either emailed to us in our school board email address, or if everybody gets provided a jump drive, we can put it on there. Because, you know, we get duplicates, and honestly, I honestly don't keep every piece of paper, and it just piles up.
everyone with the exception.
Yeah.
If someone prefers it.
No, that's fine, no, that's a good idea.
Yeah, and then that way, and a lot of them don't even bring.
How about we do this? If you want it scanned in email.
I prefer paper too.
If you want it scanned in email, tell us, and if you want it in paper form, tell us, and then we'll adhere to that. So, paper form,
Actually, Jeff,
paper form.
this was an improvement. We used to get a stack.
Thank you, yeah, we did.
Right, George?
Digital
It
form
has
is
been getting
in fact
better.
of being able to search
Ask
for
Rose,
keywords.
'cause I
That's
gave mine
what I
all
would
back.
love. In PDF format, you
Sure, yeah,
just
that's
search
good,
for a
yeah.
particular word.
Get to the point.
We have,
You know,
we have.
I don't want to sit through all this when the computer could do it easily.
So just let us know,
I haven't
let us
worked
know
yet.
for, in the next couple of days, what format you want. And if you want it in both, we'll do it in both. You tell us, whatever you want, and that's a good point, that makes sense. And it is, the indexing capabilities of technology can make it simple for the people who are, unlike me, who are tech savvy. So, yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. Just let us know what format you want it in, or both.
Joe, the gentleman that we were with when we did the tour through the buildings, what was his name, the taller guy?
Ryan Howland.
Ryan, okay. Ryan spoke to me afterwards and said what an asset Dave Robinson was also in this project in the short term and keeping everybody. And I was wondering if you would acknowledge him, if we could acknowledge him for what he did. Because Dave's been here for a long time and does a good job and doesn't always get recognized for it. And I think that from what that gentleman told me, he said he did a fantastic job.
Dave did a great job.
And I told him I would talk to you about it because he thought that.
Yeah, and we'll do that, we'll mention that again in the opening day speech. I specifically mentioned Dave and the entire,
Yes.
and the entire maintenance of it. This summer was a disaster from a standpoint of the amount of work that had to be done and having to stop and start and move around because of the construction project. It was a big undertaking. High school, middle school, and the entire, Dave did a great job, and his entire staff, really stepped up. And Artie Wilson, the same, Warren Brundage, and that staff did a
Right.
very good job. And quite honestly, Evergreen, because all of the things that
Everything was
happened in the
done
summer
Evergreen, yeah.
that used to happen here and at RD ended up all going here. So the entire, building maintenance, custodian, and the staffs at all the buildings through the summer had quite a bit more work and then really stepped up and did a good job with that. And that's great.
And I'd also like to say that the middle school with the painting, with the black and that on the walls,
Yeah.
I mentioned to some of the guys in the R.D. Wilson and maybe down at yours Evergreen, that it really offset that whole wall. I mean, it just jumps right out at you with the school colors on the walls.
And the two principals actually did the painting.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. I remember them saying that.
The first
Yeah,
in-service.
that was a really nice job.
A lot of the people that volunteered for a lot of
Yeah.
the jobs outside, there was quite a few, and I know Mr. Schaefer donated a lot of mulch. So we wanted to make sure that,
Yeah, well, and
because it was a joint effort by a lot of people to get a lot of work
there
done.
were,
No cost to the district, and still some, I don't know how to word it,
well,
Yeah,
it's a pride that you were part of it.
And Rick and Joe were there doing the work.
Yeah, I mean, the landscaping around, Brian Seaman, Don Sutton, Rick Koch, Paul Gregorski, Steve Gregorski, Justin Pigeon, Joe Romo and his daughter Emma. Am I missing?
Oh, Matt Berry.
Silent Matt. Yeah, Brian Landry and his son Joel, Brenda Lanza, were all part of that. The painting at the middle school was Kristen and Liz, and they did an awesome job. They came in.
Even Brian Seaman, though, he was working and fiddling with his technology stuff and showed us, his words were, throw it on like it's free.
Yeah, the night before.
We bought it, so don't worry, we
The night
wasn't.
before that in-service, they were there until 3 in the morning or something like that?
3:30 a.m. Our technology staff. The E-rate things that we did, which is it's a 90-10 or 85-15 E-rate share. 70-30. So, well, that fiber connection came and was ready to go like the day before the in-service, and our entire tech, Don and Brian and Sue T, people were here till, and our intern, Brian Decker, we're here till 3:30 in the morning. Everybody stepped up, and we had a lot going on, and Roger and donated to mulch. It's a lot.
And your shrubs that you donated around the administration building.
Yeah, I mean, it really, it all came together. We have some things left, and we're right now, when we're getting, 95% of the softball field stuff done with all donations. We have people donating equipment, donating manpower, donating trucks, and the only thing we're paying for is fuel. And a couple of pieces, because they're so large and expensive, we're having, a small rental. But, we're gonna do a $100,000 project at, plus or minus at the softball field, which was the only outside facility that was completely substandard. It was 7 feet of elevation difference between left field and right field. There was about 200 feet of drain tile in there that was not connected to anything, and it had 1 inch of infield mix on it.
That was a good deal buying all that drain tile.
Yeah, so we're gonna do it the right way, we're doing, you know, we're gonna.
Get is more.
When it's all said and done, we're gonna have, including buying the infield mix, which is really expensive. You know, that stuff's $24 a ton, and the closest place to get it is Lancaster. So it's expensive to truck it here. 10 triaxle loads is 4 inches, that's the spec of a field calls for. That's gonna be $10,000, the rest of it's gonna be, you know, less than $10,000 and we're gonna have a state-of-the-art field. And then fence it in for, again, additional less than $10,000. So, you know, we'll be somewhere between $20,000 and $25,000, and we're gonna have a field that is, you know, first class. We haven't touched that field since they built the middle school in the first place, because that's where the fill from the middle school went to build that field. And it hasn't had any infield mix put on it since, when was middle school built, 92? So it's been 92, 93, 93. Yeah, so we haven't put infield mix on it since. Every time you drag a field and the dust blows, well, some of it blows away, and maybe it didn't all get 4 inches in the first place to start. So, you know, and you know, our tennis court is you know, state of the art, first class. Our football and soccer and athletic complex is state of the art, first class. Baseball field was redone mostly by volunteers, and that's very, very well done. And now the softball field, and it's Sam Wilmot and Andy Wargo and Gary Putnight in Waco, and Joe Romanowski and myself. You know, we spent 30 hours of labor time here, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. And we're going to do the next 2 Saturdays. Next Saturday is putting the drain tile in, and the Saturday after is topsoiling it and hydroseeding. And the topsoil is all being donated as well.
Nobody's made a basket yet at Yardley Wilson. The court looks great. I see you got the post up.
And the same thing, the
And
2
you got the
posts
new
here.
lights for the children.
Yeah, and
Hopefully the children will use it,
Yeah.
because that'll make them better basketball players. It's a nice setup up there now. You're getting full banking boards, I would imagine.
Backboards, and same the two basketball standards that are out here that were in the dirt before.
Yeah.
Now we're on the edge of the pavement in front of the tennis court as well. And there's a forehead light there, so that really gets well lit. So, I mean, our facility, but the thing that I really like about what we're doing with some of these little extras is the power of volunteering, people volunteering, is incredible. I mean, what it would cost to redo, I mean, we moved 200 triaxle loads of material over the weekend.
Well, when you think of volunteers, I want you also to think of all the people that support their children and all of our athletic programs that go out there and raise a lot of money to offset our cost so that those kids could have more too in every event. And they do a good job.
Yeah, very
And
good
it's
point.
usually, you know, the same handful, and then when those kids graduate, it's the next group. But they're always there working hard too, those people. So,
Yeah, very, good point, excellent point. But, so, you know, there's a ownership and pride factor that's going in, and people are paying attention to it.
There's a lot of positive things going on, let's keep going.
Okay.
How far are we on the auditorium?
Auditorium, we have house lights. That's the only thing that we don't have, that's, you know, 95% or better. The house lights aren't done, the curtain isn't done. We do have a discussion for later on as far as capital, the capital thing. But